This is great footage for later. When the Lord Jesus Christ heals me, I'll have something to look back on and say, remember when I was like this.
My nan passed away at the start of 2022 when I was 14 years old, and by this point she'd been sick for 7 or 8 years. So most of the memories that I have with her are from when I was, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. I remember going to her house and watching movies together, going in the backyard, building forts and stuff out of the tree branches that she had there, going to the park nearby and kicking the footy. She was a super active old lady. Anytime we would stay at her house after school, she'd take us to the shops, and I know this isn't too healthy, but she used to get us meat pies and chocolate ice creams every single time without fail. But obviously once she got sick, so from 7 years old onwards, I wasn't able to create any more memories like this with her, because when she did get sick, she decided to sell her house and move to another state where most of her family lived, just to be closer to family and have a sort of better support system around her. So the illness that she got was motor neuron disease, which I'm sure, as a lot of you will know, is a progressive disease. It doesn't just hit you like a truck. It slowly progresses over the years, depending on who you are. For some, very quick, for some, very slowly. But anyhow, once she moved away, we would see her at least once a month, sometimes twice a month, but we would always see her at least once a month. So the whole family would leave work and school early on a Friday afternoon, my parents and my brothers, that is, so that we could go visit her for the entire weekend. I gotta turn the fucking air conditioners on, this is hot as fuck. And at first, when we would go and visit her, I really enjoyed it, because at this point, she could still walk and talk and all of that sort of stuff just fine. She had a bit of trouble walking, she needed some assistance with that, but for the most part, she could still do everything quite normal. But I think by the time I was 9 years old, it had gotten a lot worse. She couldn't speak anymore, she couldn't move. She was in a wheelchair and people had to wheel her around. She had like an electric wheelchair. And I remember by the time I was 10 or 11 years old, we just never wanted to go and visit her anymore, as fucked up as it sounds. Because the disease had gotten so bad, she couldn't, do anything by herself. She couldn't talk to us. We just stopped going as much, me and my brothers. And I remember by the time I got to 14 years old, it was never a thing that we all had to do anymore. As kids, we were obviously all forced to go. We all had to go. But by the time I was 14, some other brothers were 16 and 18, we were sort of, able to make our own decision as to whether we stay home or go with mum and dad. So a lot of the time we would choose to stay home instead of going to see her, knowing full well that we may never get a chance to see her again. And bro, I remember the last time I did see her, pretty much everything had shut down. The past few times I had seen her, she could still smile, she could still laugh, she could still cry, all that sort of stuff. She just couldn't speak or move or do anything, that a typical person could do. But one thing she could do was smile and laugh. But the last time I saw her, she could hardly do that, because I suppose all the neurons, or most of the neurons, had died in that area. But I remember saying something that was apparently so funny that it somehow got her to laugh. And I remember being told that is the first time she has laughed in months. That is what the nurses told us. So that was the very last time I saw her. It was a trip that I did with my mum. We took the train down. Now, I don't want to say that I regret anything, but I certainly wish I took more time to go and see her as a kid, because, 12, 13, 14 years old, I wasn't doing anything with myself. My time wasn't super valuable. I wasn't doing anything that was super productive. You'd honestly be disgusted to hear the things that I was doing on the weekends that I could have potentially gone and seen her. And, there's no excuse for that. That's something I've got to live with. And bro, it's like, you can never actually understand the true value of a moment until it's past, because looking back at old photos and videos from when we were kids and we were only seeing her once a month, I've noticed that a lot of the time in these photos and videos, we were on our phones most of the time, playing fucking video games on our phones when we only got to see this beautiful woman once a month. Rather than spending time in the present moment and actually cherishing our time with her. Because bro, the present moment is always so short-lived. So when we have the opportunity to spend quality time with someone who we truly love, you need to make sure you take absolute 100% advantage of that opportunity without any of the distractions and all the external bullshit. I've been making sure that I live in the present moment recently. When I'm doing one thing, I'm not thinking about another. When I'm at the gym, I'm thinking about my next set or how good my pump feels. Anything related to the gym. What I'm not thinking about is business work, how many videos I have to put out, how many more scripts I need to do for the next day. I'm not worrying about any of that sort of thing. And so when it comes to spending time with the people who I love, it's the exact same principle. I've been making sure I take time out of my day every single Sunday to go up and see my grandparents. I spend most of the day up there, just spending quality time with them. I spent most of the day with my gram on Sunday, watching a show together. We actually really enjoyed it, and we've decided that every Sunday we're going to watch that show together. And bro, over the past couple of weeks alone, spending time with my gram, I have made memories that I will literally remember for the rest of my life with her. Sometimes we become so fucking distracted by this little thing right here that we forget that we actually have an entire life outside of fucking Snapchat and Instagram. You need to understand that your life is beyond a fucking phone. You do not need this in your life to function. And my advice to any teenager out there who fucks around watching TikTok, snapping your friends, watching YouTube like you are right now, would just be to get the fuck off of social media and live in the present moment as much as possible. Because as I say, it is so fucking short-lived. It's your life, so live yours. Cut out all the bullshit and live in the present moment. Stay grinding, G.